What's up guys, welcome to another vlog. In this vlog I want to give you my tips on the 10 top ways to save money when you come and travel to Aotearoa, New Zealand. Before we get into that though, here are some facts about Aotearoa, New Zealand. New Zealand's population is 4.75 million. 5% of the population are humans. Funnily enough, the rest are just sheep. Anyway, the seasons in New Zealand are like this. Summer runs from December to February, then autumn from March right through till May, winter from June till August, and then spring from September through to November. The best times to come are the shoulder seasons, which are spring and autumn. If you really want to see some beautiful Aotearoa New Zealand scenery, you can come in autumn. You can see all the brown and yellow leaves, fauna and flora, or you can see all the new flowers blossoming in spring. If you do come in summer, you need to book way ahead of time because it is jam-packed with tourists and all the hotels and a lot of the transport are taken up. So make sure you book ahead. Alright, let's get into it. Number 10, transport. Now there are several ways you can travel around New Zealand. A lot of people use the bus, which is cool. You can use Intercity Bus and you can get around most parts of New Zealand with them. So check them out, they're online. Bus is a good way to do it. Buy a car. Now you can buy a car in New Zealand from, say, Facebook Marketplace is a good place to buy, or you can buy from Trade Me. Now Trade Me is the equivalent of eBay. It's New Zealand's version of eBay. You can get some really good deals on there. So what a lot of people do, they come and buy a car, they use it, and then they sell it when they leave New Zealand, which is pretty cool because sometimes you can make money. Now the benefits of buying a car is you can sleep in your car or your van and you don't have to pay for any accommodation. Now there are some spots around New Zealand where you can sleep in your vehicle. Most places you can, some places you can't. Now there is an app out called Campermate, so if you want to go and check that out, you can see some of the spots on there where they can tell you where you can sleep for free. Now if you don't want to buy a vehicle, there is another way that you can travel around New Zealand sort of for free. It's called relocation vehicles. Now if you go online, you can check out relocation vehicles in New Zealand. So basically what happens is that a camper vehicle company might want someone to pick up a vehicle in Christchurch and transport it all the way back to Auckland. You probably got like a week to do that, and they will pay basically everything, maybe even the petrol. So that's another way you can get around New Zealand for free, is doing relocation vehicles. If you're in the small cities and you want to just do little trips here and there, you can use a new app that's just come out in New Zealand called Your Drive. Basically what it is you're hiring vehicles from the public, everyday people, and prices can range anywhere from like $20 a day up to like $150 a day, depending on the vehicle or the van that you want to hire out. So check out that online, Your Drive. Now you also have rideshare apps in the cities as well. If you want to get around here and there, you can use things like Uber. There's also Zoomy, which is in New Zealand, so you can use that as well. And if you're one that just wants to walk around the local streets, or even you want to get to places within say 10 or 15 minutes, you can hire say Lime scooters if you're in Auckland for instance, which can get you to destinations really quickly, and it's pretty reasonably cheap as well. And just remember guys, that in New Zealand we drive on the left hand side, so make sure you read the basic rules before you start driving in New Zealand, and have a safe trip. Number 9, petrol and gas. Now this goes hand in hand if you do decide to buy you a vehicle in New Zealand. Cheapest petrol stations in New Zealand are Gull, Waitomo and G.A.S. Now there is an app that you can use to check out how cheap petrol is in your area, and that app is called Gaspy. Check it out, grab the app. It is very handy. It can save you a lot of money, especially if you are in the big cities. Now if you are in Auckland, there is a regional tax, so you're going to be paying a little bit more than the other regions, which is unfortunate. So just remember that if you do come from some of the other regions into Auckland, buy your gas before getting into Auckland. You can also use a website called pricewatch.co.nz, and that will give you the breakdown on some of the places around New Zealand that have cheap petrol as well, so check that out. Now if you do decide to use BP and Caltex, you can get a AA Smart Fuel card which looks like this, and this will give you discounts on the petrol that you purchase. So make sure you grab one of these cards, they are for free. If you do use mobile, you can get also a mobile card that looks like this, which is also free, and that can also get you discounts on petrol. Number 8, food and shopping. In New Zealand, there are a number of food chains. The biggest ones are Pack and Save, Countdown, New World. The smaller ones, which are Fresh Choice and Foursquare, are normally found in the suburbs or in smaller towns dotted around New Zealand. The cheapest is Pack and Save. I recommend, if you are going to do day trips, to buy your food at Pack and Save, make your lunch and put it into, say, a cooler bag. Take that around with you, it will save you a lot of money. Alternatively, you can head to some of the vegetable markets which are dotted around some of the smaller towns. In the big cities, there are also markets. For instance, in Auckland, on the weekends, they have Otara markets, Mangere Town Centre markets, and Avondale markets. They are by far some of the cheapest fruit, veggies and food there, so make sure if you are in those areas to check them out. Now if you do shop at Countdown, you can get the AA Smart Fuel card coupled with a One card, and the One card will give you access to more discounts at Countdown. At Pack and Save, you can also get a receipt. The receipt will give you a discount on petrol. So if you do shop at those places, make sure you either get a card, hold on to your receipt, and then you can use them as discounts. Now, accommodation. These are my recommendations. Use Airbnb. There are some cheap places you can use around some of the cities in New Zealand. Airbnb I highly recommend. Couchsurfer.com is also another one. I used to be a Couchsurfer host, hosting lots of people coming from all around the world, which is also a good way to have cultural experiences. If you are going to use hostels, you can also use YHA Hostels, especially if you are a woman. You can get discounts if you are a member as well. Some of the discounts are very good. Now here is another one that can save you a lot of money. You can do house sitting. That's right. You can look after people's homes. People sometimes go away for 6 months, sometimes even a year. They need people to live in their homes. So if you are going to be a long-term traveler within New Zealand, you can bunk down in a house. Go to housesitters.co.nz and you can see all the available houses around New Zealand. It will save you a lot of money. Sometimes the food is also supplied, and all you may have to do is just feed the animals. Another way to save money is to sleep in your vehicle. So if you have brought yourself a transportable van or car to sleep in, that is highly recommendable. There are places around New Zealand you can sleep in for free. There is an app out called Campermate. Now if you check that app out, you'll be able to see some of the locations as well as some of the points of interest that you can sleep at for free. You can also use holiday parks and camping sites. They have cabins, chalets if you want, and if you bring your own vehicle, they have powered sites which are very, very cheap. And also if you are by yourself and have a tent, you can pitch up your tent for somewhere between $5 or $10 a night. In some places you can use their toilet, bathroom and kitchen facilities along with that as well, which is handy. Number 6, this is one that not many people talk about, but because I have been living in New Zealand for a long time, it is one that I really want to share with everyone. Water. I highly recommend buying a 20-litre container and bottling your water from various spring water sites around New Zealand. Where are those sites? You can check them out on a website called findaspring.com. There are 12 places dotted around New Zealand on your travels that you can go and fill up your bottle with fresh, healthy spring water, sometimes for free. In other places, donation is just required. There is a place just outside of Auckland in Pokeno called Heartland Springs, which I was part of putting together. I highly recommend, if you do come to Auckland and land there, check out heartlandsprings.com and you can bottle your water there sometimes for a donation, and it is very, very healthy. Now, if you can't have access to any of those springs, I do recommend to buy bottled water. 70% of New Zealand's bottled water comes from a spring called the Blue Spring, which is based down in Petrol. I think water is a very essential part of our traveling. It'll keep up our health and vitality, and especially in summertime, I recommend carrying a 20-litre bottle of water around with you because it can get very, very hot very quickly in New Zealand. Number 5, eating out. If you are in some of the big city centres, I recommend not eating in some of the shopping mall food courts. They are far too expensive. You can head to some of the food markets. Now, the markets are a lot cheaper. Not only are they cheaper, but you can taste the traditional local foods as well. Example, if you are in Auckland, you can head to Otara Market or Mangere Town Centre Market. You can try Māori hangi, you can try island food, you can try some of the rewana bread and other traditional foods, and it will be a lot cheaper than having a meal at some of the food courts in the big shopping malls throughout the big centres in New Zealand. Now, I recommend to try some of these local traditional foods if you do go to the markets. Hangi, cream paua, whitebait fritters, rewana bread and kina. Those are my recommendations. Now, you don't need to tip here in New Zealand, and at the end of your meal you have to get up and pay at the counter. It's not like in some places where you can usher over a waiter and pay him. And here's another tip: if you are at some of these eatery places and you have leftovers, you can ask them to pack your leftovers into a container and you can take it with you. Just remember that one. Number 4, points of interests and attractions you can see for free. Tongariro Alpine Crossing. This is one of my favorite walks. You can basically walk across a mountain range and see some of the beauty of New Zealand. This is a highly recommendable walk. The best time to do it is through summer. If you can, also try and do it through autumn. It is beautiful as well, but winter is a big no-no because there is a lot of snow. Beaches and swimming around New Zealand. You can swim pretty much anywhere in New Zealand. Just be mindful of the currents and some of the private beaches as well that you cannot swim in, but most places you can. City parks and walks. A lot of these are free, especially in the big cities. Example, in Auckland, there is One Tree Hill, Mount Eden, Mangere Mountain. These places are free to walk around. In One Tree Hill, you can take your food and have a barbecue there. The barbecues are already set up. They have facilities there such as toilets and even some water fountains available for you to bottle your water there. Fishing. You can fish in most beaches and coastal areas of New Zealand. Do check the weather before you go. New Zealand's weather can be monitored by going to metservice.com. You can check out the tides there as well as the swells and a lot of the other information to do with weather. Hunting and collecting. My favorite is collecting seafood. I love collecting pipi, mussel, kina, paua, lobster. If you are around New Zealand, I highly recommend to do some of those activities. It is also recommendable that you talk to some of the locals first because they will know some of the spots that they can give some of the food from. And if you see some of the locals in areas of the beaches where there are clusters of them, that means there's food there. Just a little tip for you guys. You can also visit iSight, which is the visitor information centers. They have a lot of information about free activities and activities in the areas of New Zealand that you are going to visit. Number 3, Simcard and Data. Now, a lot of people coming to New Zealand want to find out what is the best SIM card, what is the best deal. Currently in 2018, the best for me and ones that I recommend are Skinny. Now, Skinny have some really good plans and good packages. What you will need to do is buy you a Skinny SIM card. You can get those from the supermarkets, Pack and Save, Countdown, New World, and they are only $2. Depending on your own needs, you can choose what plan suits you. You can check out the various skinny packages online, and also they will give you some free data as well during weekends. Now there are various places around New Zealand you can have access to free Wi-Fi, libraries, shopping malls, the airports. You can also use your hostel and hotel Wi-Fi. Visitor information centers also have free Wi-Fi as well. Now if you do use the free Wi-Fi in these places, I do suggest to get a VPN, which is a virtual private network. I currently have one for $40 a year, and I can use it in places like airports, libraries where there is free internet. This way it will mask your IP and it will give you protection against hackers and people who can get into your phone or into your computer. Number 2, buying necessities. Now if you are in the big towns and cities, there are major necessity stores where you can buy various things. The main one in New Zealand is The Warehouse. Yes, that's what it's called, The Warehouse. They can be identified because they are red and very big warehouses. You can buy all sorts of things from kitchenware, camping gear, shoes, clothing, and they are very cheaply priced. You can also use Kmart. They are similar to The Warehouse. Now if you are into second-hand stuff, you can use what we call op shops in New Zealand, opportunity shops. They are dotted around in the smaller towns as well as the suburbs, and you can have access to second-hand stuff. You can pick up really good bargains. Now the main ones are the Salvation Army and the hospice shops, and they host a variety of different things from glassware to camping gear, cameras, all sorts of things second-hand wise. Now if you are wanting little knickknacks like batteries and glue, you can get them from the $2 shop. We have a lot of $2 shops around New Zealand. They have a lot of handy things in them: torches, phone cables, charging batteries, pens, all sorts of things for $2 or less. And number 1, money. Now New Zealand's currency is not the strongest at the moment, but I do recommend not to exchange your money at the airport or exchange bureaus. They are very expensive. Instead, I recommend to exchange your money at banks. When you come out of some of the airports in New Zealand, there are banks inside the airports themselves. You can use those banks, or if you go to the suburbs or city areas, you can use banks in there to exchange your money. It is a lot cheaper than using some of the exchange bureaus. New Zealand have a lot of ATM machines dotted around, so I recommend to withdraw cash out and use cash mostly if you can, especially at the markets where you can bargain for discounts on various bits and pieces that you are going to purchase. Now New Zealand uses credit cards, bank cards and debit cards via EFTPOS. EFTPOS simply means electronic funds transferred point of sale. It is the system that we use here, where you can swipe your card, or you just insert your card, or even do pay and wave, which is one of the latest ways of paying. Now you can make some last minute withdrawals from your own country and bring that cash over and exchange it. You may get it cheaper that way instead of using your EFTPOS card. Now I recommend to use an app called Owanda Currency Exchange app. I use this in most of the countries that I visit around the world, and it is very, very handy. It can give me an idea of how much money I'm spending, how much money I'm going to convert, or how much something is of value. Don't forget to notify your bank that you are traveling as well. Sometimes they stop access to your account. You can't access your money, so make sure you tell your bank before you leave that you are going to a certain country. And always make sure you have an emergency scenario in place in case you lose your money or your card. You don't want to be left stranded, so make sure you have a backup in place in anywhere that you travel around the world. Well, there you go guys, those are my 10 top tips on how to save money when coming to New Zealand to travel. I hope you got something out of it and it helps you with your savings if you ever intend to travel in and around New Zealand. Awesome. Anyway guys, we'll leave it at that. We'll see you guys on the next video. Give this one a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel, experience the journey, inspire others, live life guys.